Hello, this is Lewis here again, and on this slide it says forgiveness starts with me. Um, this story doesn't really flow with all the other slides I put together, but it's a pretty significant little story that happened in my life, and I think most of us can relate to it, so I wanted to go ahead and insert it in the video series here. The bottom line is we all go through life, and we're going to go through some hardships in life. In some cases, we're going to have either a family member, friend, employer, whatever, hurt us or do something to disappoint us, maybe make us angry. And if we're not careful, we can actually get anger and unforgiveness towards that person. And this little story is actually a story that I dealt with personally, and that's why I chose to share it. We probably all had an employer that is difficult to work for. I had one in particular that would have these anger attacks, and they were irrational, uncontrollable, and they would just have these rants and fits and be really cruel to employees. And then they seems like they'd get rid of one employee, and then there'd be another employee, and they always had this one employee that was on their beating pole or whatever you want to call it. And this one particular person I had a very difficult time with, and I was dealing with unforgiveness in my heart quite a bit. And when our first son, Jonathan, was about 5, my wife wanted to stay home and raise our kids, and she wanted to do homeschooling rather than the public school system. And she did some research, and she found a certain kind of curriculum she wanted to use. And to do this, we lived in Florida. We had to drive all the way to Tennessee to go through a 1 week training or prerequisite before we could get the curriculum and teach the curriculum to our son. And there was people driving all over the U.S. from California all the way to Tennessee for this. It was absolutely amazing. In fact, this training was in an auditorium that held about 10,000 people, and they were actually using a college dormitory for the facilities where we stayed. And one of the lessons that one of the teachers taught was about forgiveness and tearing down our walls and not giving ground to the enemy. And I already knew that I was dealing with unforgiveness and a lot of hurt in my heart, almost to the point of rage. And I went into that cold dormitory room that night. It was all metal, it was very cold. I said, "Okay, Lord." I said a little prayer. I said, "Lord, I know this person's done me wrong, but I choose to forgive them because you said I need to. I don't feel it, but I choose to forgive them. And I can't explain it, but something supernatural happened that day. And a change happened. Can't even explain it. Went back to Florida. Went back to that supervisor and said, and I tried to do I forgive you this and that. I think it was Matthew 18. And they still threw it back in my face. And I realized then that I had done what I could do, and I tried even on my part in a place of humility to try to restore a relationship and do what I can, and the person refused to humble themselves and be part of that process. I learned that I did my part, and forgiveness was done in my heart, and the healing was done in my heart. And you know what? I still had to be careful not to get angry and have the feelings because this person was just that ornery. But I found that forgiveness is a choice. Forgiveness is a choice of the will, not of the feeling. I didn't feel like forgiving them. I didn't want to forgive them in that room when I prayed. I didn't want to forgive them when I talked to them face to face. I didn't want to forgive them when I worked with them day after day, as ornery as they were. There was no want to in it. But I chose to do it. It was an act of the will. And once I acted on the will in obedience, I found that the healing began in my heart. And over time, a lot of the pain and anger began to fade away. It wasn't immediate, it took time. But I had to let go. And I had to choose. Am I going to judge this person and not forgive them? Because it's not my place to judge them. It's not my place. I don't hold that position. So I'm not going to. I'm not going to judge him. It's not my place. That's somebody else's job. I'm not going to do it. So if you have unforgiveness in your heart or somebody has disappointed you, have your little private prayer and forgive them in your heart through your will. And then you can try to restore a relationship with them, and they may respond positively or negatively. If they respond positively, that's great for both of you. If they respond negatively, you've done your part. You can't control their part. They will be judged for their part. Don't worry about that. Anyways, forgiveness starts with me, starts with you. So we got to choose to forgive others. That's our first step. Talk to you later. Have a great day.